The show where there are no penalties, nothing is offside, and everything is fair game. This is The Gloves Are Off.
Welcome to the set of The Gloves Are Off. I'm Matt Choumont, filling in for Moses Woldu, who is on a 2-week vacation. He's out of the country. He's gone, but I'm proud to fill in for him. Joining me is New Cap Sports weekend anchor Kyle Galliver. How you doing, bud?
Happy to be in the co-pilot chair for once.
And joining him, Brandon Basler, Lloyd FM morning host. How you doing, bud?
Always happy to be here. I'm doing good.
You're doing good. You ready to go? You guys ready to go?
I guess so.
Well, we're going to start off the Kings because we have to, not just because I'm a fan. Well, it's because I am a fan. It's because I'm a fan. 2014 champs, second cup in the last 3 years. The way they did it was the complete opposite of 2012. I guess, guys, just what are your thoughts on the Kings winning the cup this year?
Just such a deep hockey team. I think that's all it came down to. It was their top end talent was playing great, but I think really the Kings, the thing about them is how deep their club is. Like their third line of Justin Williams, who won the Conn Smythe, and Stoll and Dwight King. I think the Kings, just their depth was there, and they got hot at the right time, and just went well for them.
And plus that resolve. Down 3-0 to the Sharks, down 3-2 to Anaheim. They came back how many times when they're down 2 deficits against the Blackhawks? And unless you were named Moses or Henrik Lundqvist, I don't think you picked the Rangers to win anyway. So, I mean, everyone knew the Kings were going to win. It was a good series. I thought it was going to go a few games longer. But
I feel like the cup was won, 3 weeks ago when they beat Chicago.
That was a good.
That was the Stanley Cup.
We all thought the West was going to win. So.
The East is pretty weak compared to the West. You got Chicago and San Jose, Anaheim, got all those teams. But what about the centerman down the middle for the Kings? Because you have Kopitar, you got Jeff Carter, Stoll, and Mike Richards as your fourth line center. Now, is that the top 4 centermen, potentially in the league? Like, what do you guys think?
I would say it's got to be close. I mean, who else maybe has Pittsburgh? You can say they got the big 2 and then Suter, but who I would say it has to be the Kings. Like, you go look at 4 lines with 4 strong centers. Like, realistically, those guys could be your top line center. Maybe not Richards anymore, but all those guys could be top line centers if you need them to.
I don't think there's any team who really compares. And I think that's the difference between the Kings and, the rest of the league, and potentially, or more so, the Eastern Conference. But that's the difference, because every team, Edmonton or Calgary or whoever, always looking for that first, that second line center, where they would take any one of those guys and play in their top 2 lines.
Okay, now we'll stay with the Kings. Conn Smythe winner went to Justin Williams. You could almost give it to anyone. Drew Doughty, Kopitar, Gaborik. There's so many options. Was Williams your guy, considering what he did in the playoffs?
I would say no, just for the fact that I think if you remove somebody like Kopitar or Doughty during the playoffs, it has more of an impact.
Well, Mr. Game 7.
I think the reason he got it, I mean, he was in on all the big plays, and normally the memorable moments are kind of what gets you for it. And when it was crunch time, Williams did show up. I would have probably given it to Doughty just because I think defense is harder to play, especially the way he played in the playoffs. But, I mean, Williams is still a good choice.
It's funny because I was watching the game with some of my buddies, and, we're trying to predict who's going to win. And Doughty came out, and Quick's name was there, and Kopitar, Gaborik. All these names were said. Nobody said Williams, and then Justin Williams. But, the guy just gets it done at the right time. So can't really argue.
Well, he's got 3 cups, too. Can't forget that.
He only had 25 points in the playoffs, too. One behind Kopitar. He had a heck of a run. I think he got, 6 more points in the cup final, too. So, nonetheless, well-deserving. We'll move on. It's the off-season now, and, of course, there's always talks of buyouts and potential trades and whatnot. So, focusing on buyouts, who do you think is gone? Whose contracts are out?
There's going to be a few that surprise us. There always is. I think one guy that I look at potentially is Vinny Lecavalier in Philadelphia. He got moved to Philadelphia, didn't do much. I mean, he was playing fourth line minutes.
At the end of the
And
season.
making big money, too.
And Philly likes to buy. They like to buy guys out. So I think he could be bought out. You look at Richards in New York. I mean, the guy's in the Stanley Cup final and not being effective for his team, and he's making that huge salary. So I look at those 2 guys.
What about his teammate, Rick Nash? Because he was pretty much invisible, too, in the postseason, especially in the Cup final.
Here's the thing with a guy like Nash. Nash isn't quite as old as Richards is, and Nash, he didn't play bad in the Olympics either. He's got big game performances in him, just didn't have a good Cup run. So I would say Rick Nash you wait a little longer on. Richards is more likely, but Vigneault did say this week that he's a big fan of Brad Richards, so who knows. Another one, David Booth, I was thinking is going to get bought out. Did get bought out today, so there you go.
There was rumors, too, that Mike Richards, the other Richards for LA, was going to get bought out because he's making a lot of money playing fourth line, but
the one thing about these contracts, too, though, is some of these contracts that got signed before the new CBA, they're stacked, so these guys are making more now, but as the contract goes on, they make less and less and less. So I think by the end of Mike Richards' contract, he's not making 8 that he is now. It's more like 6, which is, Caps going up, I think they got room for him.
This was
that.
probably also the first final to have 2 overpaid Richards centering the fourth line.
What can you do? One won the cup.
I
Good
guess.
thing it was the right one. From buyouts to free agency / trades, people throw trades in here too. There's guys like PK Subban, who's probably going to get a pay raise. Trades too. There's Joe Thornton on the market, along with a couple other guys. But what do you think is going to happen in the offseason with the moves?
There's going to be teams. I think the Sharks are going to be a team that kind of shakes it up. They've got a few older guys like Thornton and Marlowe, and they're going to have to move one of those guys, I think, because they're going to need to bring in some more youth to play with guys like.
Considering they just re-signed them to lengthy deals, you think one of them will get moved?
But here's the thing: you look at a team like the Oilers or the Flames or even
The
maybe
Leafs.
Ottawa, or the
Leafs
Leafs.
too, yeah.
The Ottawa is going to have to get rid of Spezza. So somebody said, here's Thornton, the Oilers, Flames, all those teams, even
They'll
teams
eat
like
him up.
Buffalo, they would
Yeah.
jump at it. So
I'm
there will be some movement.
really intrigued to see where Jason Spezza ends up. I mean, they say he wants out. I think it's more of a mutual thing where Ottawa is like, okay, you've been here for a while. We haven't really got to that next level. I'm interested to see where he goes and what they get for him, because he's that first line center that, your Calgary Flames would really need. He's the first line center somewhere. So
There's
interested
also
to see where he goes.
Kessler too. Kessler, Vancouver,
Kessler's-
he's going to make a
yeah.
big pay raise, and Vancouver should probably move him. if
There's
they
going to be a
can.
lot of noise at the draft, I think.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting, these guys like Kessler, who it's made known that they want out. Like, does that lessen his value and other teams know, okay, they got to trade him?
It could, but there are teams desperate for centers, and I think they're going to find someone who's going to overpay.
And you don't find guys like Kessler and Spezza, Thornton, anywhere else. What about PK Subban? How much? He's obviously going to get a big pay raise. How much do you think he'll?
He's going to get max deal, 8 years, 7.5, probably $8 million, even with the cap going up.
So much money.
Yeah, but Norris Trophy, the way he played this season, he's earned it. I
If
mean,
he
he's a
doesn't
guy
get
that's earned it.
If he doesn't get it in Montreal, he's going to get it somewhere else.
And that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Someone is going to pay him the big dollars.
And Montreal would be dumb to let him walk.
Okay, we're going to pause right there. We're going to take a quick commercial break. More Dump and Change when we come back.